Yes, people, welcome back to the 1894 for a brand new transfer video. We haven't done one of these in about a week or two. We did a mini-series the other week about strikers. We've got a few of the players to talk about, 2 strikers, a defender. Let's get right into it. Right, so as I said, we have 3 players to talk about. But before we get into all that, I want to say, first of all, thank you so much to everyone who has come from Turkish's channel. They saw me in the Big Six there on Tuesday night. You've all been absolutely amazing. I've seen all of your lovely messages, and we really appreciate your support over here. We hope you stick with us and you enjoy the content. If you would, leave a like on this video as well. We're hoping some other City fans can find the channel. The likes really do help. And, of course, subscribe if you're new. But with that said, we have 3 players to talk about, 3 pretty high-profile players to talk about as well. These players may rattle some rival fans, the fact that we're semi-linked with them anyway. I don't know how reliable these sources are. Well, the sources are pretty reliable, but I don't know how intense the talks are or how close we are to signing them. Anyway, the first one is the infamous centre-back playing for Chelsea right now, Antonio Rüdiger. German international, I believe, a top player. I'm very impressed every time I watch him. Obviously, we'll be playing him on Saturday morning, I would imagine, and he is probably Chelsea's best chance of stopping us scoring a whole lot of goals because he is a top centre-half. I think he's looking for something like 350 grand a week from whatever club signs him. So from DiMarzio here, Antonio Rüdiger is in talks with Juventus, Man City, Tottenham and PSG. It is difficult for the centre-back to sign a new contract at Chelsea, and he will join one of the 4 named teams. Now, DiMarzio, of course, is a very reliable transfer source, which is why we are giving this piece of news some airtime. We may not have given this piece of news some airtime if it was a less reliable source, because Antonio Rüdiger, we just find it mad to the idea of him signing for City, or even more so Tottenham, who are named here, coming from Chelsea. Obviously, we're rivals with Chelsea at the moment for trophy, so it will be a bit weird. I don't know. I think for me, Joe, before you give your thoughts, it just seems very much like it is a cry for more cash from Chelsea, and I think Abramovich will ultimately cough up the cash and sign Rüdiger. He'll be absolutely mad not to. I would say Rüdiger is definitely in the top 3 to 5 centre-halves in the world in terms of ability and quality. So it would be silly for them to let him go, especially to a club like City. I don't think he's going to come to City personally, but I've seen crazier things happening. Obviously, Laporte is semi-linked with Barcelona. So maybe the only way Rüdiger could end up at City is if Laporte did go to Barcelona, but that's also very much just paper talk. It's definitely a mad one. Joe, what do you think about Antonio Rüdiger linked with us and, of course, a few other teams mentioned there?
It's just madness to say he's linked with us. We're not. I know Ake's been linked as well with leaving to the likes of AC Milan. I think he's been linked to, but it's just madness. We're not going to sign him to sit behind Stones. We'd probably sit alongside Stones, 3rd, 4th choice centre half. We're not paying 350 grand a week for someone to sit on the bench. It's just ridiculous, and he won't accept sitting on the bench either. The only way it does happen, I think, like you said, if Laporte leaves, which I don't think he will, at least not yet. And I've seen him in a back 4 before, and he's not as good in the back 4 as he is in the back 3. I've seen him for the German national team a couple of times. He tends to get spun when he's in the back 4. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just because he doesn't have that protection of having an extra body there. I don't know. But I can see him just going to Bayern, really. I think that's what makes the most sense. Him going back to Germany, play for Bayern, or Chelsea. Chelsea could just renew his contract. I think they should. They definitely should, because he's been one of their best players. He's been probably their best defender. It's just madness to suggest that he's going to come to City. I just cannot see it in any world at all.
Yeah, the natural progression for top Germans is really just to go to Bayern Munich, isn't it? We've seen it over the years. Bayern Munich just nab all the best German players around the world. So I think, obviously, he's not mentioned here they're not mentioned here by DiMarzio of Bayern Munich, but I think if he is to go to a club, I'd probably still put them top of my list. And then, obviously, renewing at Chelsea is, even though DiMarzio says it's difficult, I still think that's just what Rüdiger wants. He just wants more cash. But the money he's allegedly looking for is quite crazy for a centre-half, so I don't know if I'd be willing to pay that. I don't think City would either. Speaking of Bayern Munich, the next player we want to talk about is back in the striker conversation. Now, we did not put this player in our little mini-series about strikers last week because I just sort of refused to believe it, if I'm being totally honest, and that player is, of course, the man himself, Robert Lewandowski.
Lewandowski.
I hope you enjoyed that little clip. We've got news from Sky Sports Germany here, which is obviously, it's fairly reliable. Sky Sport, you would trust them over a lot of other sources, but I don't know. I'm sure they have their allegiances to Bayern Munich because they are the big team in Germany. But anyway, it says Robert Lewandowski is Premier League bound with Man City, Chelsea, and Liverpool on alert. Now, this doesn't altogether surprised me either. Robert Lewandowski is a very accomplished player. He's won a lot. He's scored a lot of goals, and he's spent essentially all his time in Germany, hasn't he? Through Dortmund and Bayern Munich. Maybe, just maybe, while he is still pretty well at the peak of his powers for the age he is, which is quite astonishing still, he may just fancy a new challenge, which is the only way I could see this happening. If Lewandowski really feels, I want a new challenge for the last maybe 2 years of me at my top fitness and my top peak performance levels, maybe that's what he's thinking. Or else, similar to Rüdiger, Lewandowski maybe just wants a bit more of that cash off Bayern Munich. And I'd say they would be silly not to give him the cash, because even at the ripe age of whatever he is, what is he, 33, Joe? 34?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, even at the ripe age of 33, 34, he's still banging in those goals. And he's not just doing it in Germany, so don't come at us with the Farmers League comments. He does it in Europe, man. He does it in Europe. So he's a top striker. Listen, obviously City are linked with a huge amount of strikers. Myself and Joe have gone over these till we're blue in the face, the strikers we're linked with. But I would be happy to take Lewandowski as kind of like a cameo for maybe a year or two or three maybe, and then he goes off to New York or one of our sister clubs. Because he's a top player, but obviously Chelsea are linked as well. Liverpool are linked as well. I can't see Liverpool paying the cash. It's not in their nature for his wages. Maybe Chelsea is a destination if the Lukaku thing continues to be a problem for them. But for us, I think I'd take him if our other options that myself and Joe spoke about in our mini-series do not work out. What do you think about Lewandowski linked with us? And it's coming from Sky Sports Germany, Joe, by the way.
I would absolutely be over the moon with this. He's the best striker in the world at the moment. Like, at this current moment, there's no better out and out number 9 than him at the moment. He probably should have won the Ballon d'Or. Definitely should have won it last year when it was cancelled. But he just seems so close yet so far away, because he's only got a year left on his contract come the summer, so you kind of want to believe it. And if it's coming out of the German Sky Sports, you'd believe that they're a bit closer with the German clubs. But I can't see it. I can't see City going and signing a 33-year-old and going, well, after 2 years, now we've got to think about strikers again. It's just, I can't see it. Again, it's so close because it seems like it would genuinely be achievable. Like, it's not out of the realms of possibility, but it just doesn't seem like something City would even like contemplate doing. They'd go for someone a bit younger or just wait for the right person to come up. So I think it is a bit unrealistic, but I mean, I would genuinely be happy if it happened.
Yeah, no, 100%. I would be happy to. I do think City have their eyes more fixed on other targets. Obviously, Erling Haaland allegedly is one that City are going to push hard, in inverted quoted commas, to get. I don't know, like myself and Joe obviously spoke about Haaland a huge amount. But listen, if we couldn't get Haaland or Vlahovic, I'd take Lewandowski over Kane, even though Lewandowski is a few years over Kane. And I think the way this would probably pan out is if Pep is obviously to extend, if he was to extend, or the new manager or whoever, or the board decide that Liam Delap is definitely a future, mainstay of the starting 11 at the club. If he is to be that, they would bring Lewandowski in for 2 or 3 years, like I said, to bang in goals, as he naturally would. It's what he does best. Liam Delap could learn from him. Then when Lewandowski does decide to pack up his bags again and move on to wherever else, Liam Delap would be, 23, 24, and he would have been learning off Lewandowski the whole time. That's maybe the only way I see it working out. Obviously, it's a very specific plan I've just outlined to you, but that's one of the possibilities. I think it would be a good possibility to consider if Haaland is to move off to Madrid, and maybe if Vlahovic goes elsewhere. Then there's obviously the question of Harry Kane. That's a completely different story altogether, and it's a difficult one to predict. The final player we want to speak about is probably the most realistic of the three, because he very much fits our false nine system, which we know Pep absolutely loves playing and has been very effective in recent years. That, of course, is Joao Felix. Now, he's been linked with us a couple of times over recent transfer windows, but Atletico Madrid have obviously been demanding quite high money for him, which is natural. He's a very good player. He's still young, and he scores quite a few goals. Atletico Madrid, aren't they the La Liga champions right now? He was a massive part of that last season. So according to Ojogo here, I don't know, I think he's a Portuguese source, speaking to Sports Witness, obviously Felix is Portuguese, so maybe this guy does know a bit about it. Says Atletico Madrid can sell off, in quoted commas, Joao Felix to Man City, but that will be a process that should evolve only at the end of the season. So it does what it says in the tin. If it was to happen, it would only happen in the summer transfer window. Like I said, I think this is the most realistic because of the system we play. We don't know, does Pep actually want to transition into an out-and-out striker at some stage, or use that as an option at some stage? We have no evidence to back that. So all these strikers we've spoken about, like Haaland, Kane, Lewandowski, etc., they're all out-and-out strikers. This is the first and only striker, essentially, we've been linked with that plays the false nine role better than he plays the out-and-out striker role. So maybe this is something Pep would look towards. What do you think of this one? He is a very good player, Joe.
the most realistic, but still unrealistic at the same time. It's okay, he'd fit the current system, but like we in the last part of the mini series where we discussed not going with a striker, it's all well and good under Pep because we know we can handle it. We know Pep can handle not having someone who's an out-and-out number 9. I don't think Joao Felix is the person to go for because he's going to cost you so much money because Atletico Madrid paid 120 million for him. And while, yes, he is still young and he can still get better, and he's not a bad player at all whatsoever, I think he's struggling a little bit with the system Atletico Madrid play being so, defensive and, plays a 4-4-2. I just don't think it's the right move for City to go for, especially if they, the next manager could struggle with not having a number 9. We know Pep can handle it, like I said, because he is the best manager in the world at this current moment in time. He is, at least in my opinion anyway. And I just don't think it's sensible to even risk it, really, like pay that much money and potentially the next guy that comes in doesn't want to play Joao Felix, doesn't want to play him because he's not a striker, can't find a role. And I mean, I know he can fill out wide on the left, but we have so many wingers as well. So it's really a difficult situation of post-Pep. Would he fit in? I think that's the big question. Are you going to pay that much money for someone who might not fit in with the new manager? For me, no. And I don't see it happening anyway because I don't think City are willing to go and give Atletico Madrid loads of money because they're not going to sell him for cheap. So no, I can't really see this one happening, but I do think out of the 3, it's definitely the most realistic.
Yeah, with not a huge amount of time left on Pep's contract, and there's no real signs yet to suggest he's thinking about extending, the board are 100% thinking about life post-Pep. If you don't think they are, you're wrong. They're 100% thinking about what life is going to be like after Pep, unless, of course, they're having private talks that we don't know about extending. That's what we want. Obviously, that's what we want as fans, City fans. We want Pep to stay. But, we do have to start thinking about what life would be like after him. And maybe, like Joe said, Joao Felix would not be the ideal option in that case because most managers out there do not play a false 9 system. I know some managers have tried to do it over recent years because Pep has popularised it, but most managers play with a big dog striker up front. And I'd be pretty sure whoever comes in to replace Pep will have that in their locker anyway. But listen, like I said, leave a like on this video at the start. It really does help us. And let us know your thoughts down below in the comments on all of these rumours. Who do you think is most likely? Would you take any of these players? We're not so sure, but we've just been linked with these players. We decided we'd cover Man City transfer news in the month of January. This is Man City transfer news in the month of January. So let us know your thoughts down below. Subscribe if you're new as well. We're on the road to 1.5k. That's the next big goal. It's been less than a year, the 1894, and we've surpassed 1,000, which is amazing. Like I said at the start, we really, really appreciate it. We hope you stick around. Like, subscribe, share it around to other City fans, and we'll see you very, very soon with another update.